For a year, I told myself I was just giving him space. That's what I said to my friends, to anyone who asked why we were so distant, why he seemed to drift further and further away every week. I convinced myself it wasn't neglect or a lack of love. It was just his busy life, his career, the endless late nights at the office. He always said he was exhausted, that he needed time to focus on work. And I believed him. I bought into the idea that love meant understanding, patience, and giving someone the freedom to be who they needed to be, even if that meant they barely saw you at all. It started small. A text here, a missed call there, a canceled plan. And each time, I told myself, it's fine, it's normal, he's under pressure. I would sit at home, scrolling through old photos of us, smiling at memories that now felt distant and fragile. But in those lonely moments, I also felt a stirring, a part of me that resented the quiet absence of affection, of attention. That part whispered, you deserve to be seen, to be wanted, to feel alive. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, I began to answer that whisper. It was casual at first. A coffee, a joke, an innocent conversation with someone new. He didn't notice, or if he did, he said nothing. His distance made it easy to rationalize, easy to compartmentalize. I told myself it wasn't cheating. It was just filling the empty spaces he left behind. And yet, with every smile, every touch, every laugh I shared with him, I felt both exhilarated and guilty. It was a dangerous mix, but one I told myself I could control. Weeks turned into months, and what started as a simple distraction became a pattern. I crafted my own little secret world, where I was adored, desired, and seen, not just a ghost in the corner of his busy life. Every text from him, every "I'll be late tonight," became another invitation to slip further into the life I had carved out on the side. I became adept at balancing the two lives, the one where I nodded and smiled when he spoke about his day, and the one where my phone lit up with messages that made me feel alive in ways I hadn't felt with him in months. And then, almost predictably, the tension began to build. I could sense in his eyes when he looked at me. Brief flashes of suspicion, moments of unspoken questions. But he never asked. He never confronted me. Instead, he started to treat me differently. Subtly at first, a longer silence at dinner, a shorter hug, a polite smile instead of warmth. He was pretending, and I didn't even realize it fully until that night. That night changed everything. It was supposed to be ordinary. I had told him I was going out with friends, and he barely raised an eyebrow. He didn't call, he didn't text, he didn't even seem to notice I wasn't around. I returned later than expected, hoping for some acknowledgement, some spark of the man I had once loved. But the moment I stepped through the door, I noticed a shift. He didn't greet me. He didn't smile. He didn't even glance at me. He simply walked past, nodding politely, as if I were a stranger entering a room. My stomach dropped. I tried to make conversation, to bridge the invisible distance, but he replied with curt, minimal responses, each word measured and distant. Every laugh he shared felt like it belonged to someone else. Every glance in my direction was empty, like the man I knew had vanished. I realized with a cold, sinking clarity that he had known. Somehow, after months of my careful balance, my hidden life, he had figured it out. And instead of confrontation, instead of anger, he had chosen the coldest response possible, pretending I didn't exist. I remember the exact moment it hit me. The realization that the person I thought would always be there, the one I had justified everything for, the one I had convinced myself to forgive and overlook, had already made his decision. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. There were no shouting matches, no thrown objects, no tearful confrontations. Just a quiet, deliberate withdrawal, an invisible wall rising between us. And with every polite nod and measured word, the wall grew taller, separated me from him, separated me from the life I thought I controlled. I sat on the edge of the couch that night, replaying every choice, every action that had brought me here. I thought about the messages, the stolen moments, the lies I had told myself about giving him space. And I realized something. I hadn't lost him because I had done something wrong. I hadn't lost him because he didn't care. I had lost him because I had treated our relationship as optional, something I could negotiate and adjust when convenient. I had lost him because I had underestimated the quiet strength of someone who values dignity above spectacle. And then came the messages. Notifications flooded my phone, not from him, but from the man I had been seeing on the side. At first, I was relieved, clinging to the life that had kept me afloat for the past year. But the relief quickly soured into unease, a growing knot of fear and guilt. I realized painfully that the thrill, the excitement, the stolen moments, none of it mattered in the face of what I had lost. The man I had taken for granted was gone, and I had no one to blame but myself. For hours, I watched him from across the room, pretending to read, pretending to be engaged in something mundane, while my mind replayed every step that had led to this moment. The polite, distant gestures, the empty laughter, the careful avoidance. It was all deliberate. He wasn't angry. He wasn't jealous. He wasn't vengeful. He simply refused to allow me the comfort of recognition, the illusion that our relationship still held meaning. And in that refusal, in that quiet, dignified withdrawal, he taught me a lesson I would never forget.